Very good. Are we
You know,
live
you
on
can
both
change,
things?
you can change that
Yeah.
mouse to a different color so you can see
Yeah.
it.
Okay, we ready to go, right? Good evening, everyone. My name is Virginia Harger, Chairperson of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is Wednesday, September 20th, 2023, and the special meeting of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission being conducted in the Shelton City Hall Auditorium via Zoom and through a phone link is hereby called to order at 6:03 p.m. This meeting may be also viewed live and remotely on YouTube.
It's back on.
It's back on. We're having a little technical issues. Would everyone please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance, and I invite those participating remotely to do the same. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. I'll start off with a roll call of the commission. Please indicate you're present when your name is called. Commissioner Kelly,
Present.
Commissioner Parkins,
Present.
Commissioner Lascos,
Present.
Commissioner Motto, alternate Commissioner Onofrio,
Present.
alternate Commissioner Donato,
Present.
myself, Commissioner Harger, Mr. Rossetti, our zoning administrator,
Present.
Ms. Castro, our assistant administrator,
Present.
Ms. Bernassos, our recording secretary.
Present, but I also need recording permissions, please.
It was given, so check your,
Okay, thank you.
okay. And Stephanie Charbonneau, our stenographer.
Present.
Thank you. Okay, for the record, Commissioner Tiki and Mr. Pianico indicated they would not be available for this evening's meeting. Alternate Commissioner Donato, you being seated for Commissioner Tiki.
Yes.
A couple of points before continuing with tonight's agenda. Ms. Castro will act as the Zoom meeting host. While commissioners will be able to make comments throughout the meeting, the chair asks that you please identify yourself and wait to be recognized by the chair before speaking to make sure we're not all speaking over each other, to make sure our recording secretary is clear as to who is speaking. Our first agenda item is applications for zoning compliance. And there are two sign applications on this evening's agenda that were tabled from last week due to request by the commission that staff contact the landlord to have an artist rendering submitted for each of the buildings to show specifically the design of the awnings. Ms. Castro, our assistant administrator, located the initial elevations and renderings for various buildings at Fountain Square and sent them in an email to the commission last Friday, September 15th. Ms. Castro, would you put up first the Panera Bread artist rendering? Mouse has a mind of its own tonight. Yeah.
Attorney Thomas is asking to be let in.
Sure. Okay, so I asked Ms. Castro to prepare to show 6 different building elevations and artist renderings for different buildings at Fountain Square before we continue. So here's the first one, which had been submitted, sheet number 0108. It's the artist rendering that shows the exterior with the green awnings over the windows. And if you go to the next one, what will be shown is a street view of how that building looks today. This particular one on Google Maps was taken in June 2023. Awnings are basically in the same location. The only difference from the elevation that was submitted originally, is that the canopy color has, seems to be a two-tone one. Maybe green. Okay, then the next one,
I think that's just a visual because,
I think they're solid.
yeah.
It could
I've
be
been
that
there.
the
Yeah,
way
it's
that the
glare.
camera took it.
Yep.
On top of the car, yeah, because the one that's past the pergola on the right, that looks a little darker.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right, so now the next one is going to be an artist rendering of the corner from Parrot Drive, where the street light now is installed. So you can see over the awnings that are over the windows, the ones all the way to the right seem to be open louver type, which, but the ones to the left, where it says restaurant on the left corner, seem to be closed, but again, I can't tell if that is, but I think those do look more closed because they seem to be a vertical style versus the ones on the right side that seem to be horizontal. Okay, then if you keep going, the next one is one that we approved, and that was position one, and their awnings are a sunbrella of fabric, and those are going to be over the.
We didn't.
We didn't approve those.
We didn't end up approving this.
No,
we
we
approved the
approved the
sign.
sign.
Oh,
not the
sorry.
order.
Okay, so we didn't do that.
No,
Okay, so that's what was submitted, but we had those removed in the final decision. So that's they're a non-awning corner of the previous building then.
the
But
rest
they
were
would like to
restaurant.
put the initial on.
You mean the metal things?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, so we're getting some consistency there. Okay, now we have Chick-fil-A, which seemed to be a metal horizontal design as well. Correct? And then finally, here's the artist elevation or a photo of the existing rear building, which is called Retail 1, whereas the building in the front corner where Mission Barbecue was supposed to go and where Physicians 1 is, that's Retail 2.
Mhm.
So the long building in the back is Retail 1. And you can see how way back when, like 4 years ago, when this elevation was submitted, at that time, the architect just stuck in single name kind of companies. But what the applicant has submitted for the Fountain Square Wine and Spirits is a one long continuous sign. And the confusion last week was the one that had been submitted was right above the windows, and what actually they want are awnings with the name of the business above, where it's, this one says Stuff and Company and Swan, and their signage would extend out from the front of the building, would cross over those vertical stone columns. So
Well, it's not German, it's a different type of awning. also.
yes, it is a different type of awning. So Alexander, did you have the most recent one for Fountain Square then? Somewhere, or they would like it to appear? So what it seems like right now, the majority of the awning style, correct me if I'm wrong, would be like the metal slats, slotted ones.
On those flat overhangs.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking Alexandra to bring up to see. They're flat.
There, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's from 4 years ago, just as a placeholder,
Yeah.
but that was their,
But those were
Yeah.
approved, so they could do that. as I understand it.
while it was submitted, that is the dilemma that I think we're in, is that we were always to have a discussion about the overall signage,
Yeah.
but as to whether or not we did is, we can't document
Sure,
that. Yeah,
I have,
so can you blow that up?
the
Let me
current
see.
one?
No, what you're doing here, so this is the one that they finally submitted, the
Yes, this is
revised,
the end.
and those, are those awnings below?
Yeah. they're there.
Okay.
The awnings would be placed below.
Okay.
Where do you see, there's, the picture's not showing awnings though, correct?
Not in this photo.
No.
Right, that's what I was,
I have this one if you would like. me to
yeah,
show.
put that up, yeah. Yeah, that's just the front of the building. So there's a, all right, so zoom that in. Slide it over, but,
So
and
this
is,
is not the front of that particular building specifically?
so do we or do we not have specifically what this tenant wants to have? Or there, we know what the signage is, but how are they treating the rest of the building?
This is Attorney Thomas
Okay,
speaking.
Attorney Thomas, go ahead.
The developer is going to be installing the, what you want to call them awnings.
Yep.
In accordance with the type, both the vertical, I think a mixture of vertical and horizontal decorative awnings. So
we
it's not
talking
going to
about-
be done by, it's not going to be done by the tenant.
Are we talking about, okay, are we talking about metal ones or the slotted ones, slatted that
The
we,
slotted ones, I can't tell you. I don't know if Dave Gunier was going to try to call in and he may be able to be a little more detailed, but they are, yeah, they're hard.
right, okay, all right, not the fabric awnings flat around Panera.
I've added these.
Not like the only one that I heard of was requesting a black fabric was Urgent Care, but that was just a request. I hadn't, they hadn't submitted anything. The rest of them are going to have, so for instance, if you went back to the Fountain Square wine and liquor sign, the awning is going to be installed by the developer.
Okay, and now Mr. Gunia is now here in the meeting. So Mr. Gunia, could you just clarify the area in front of retail 1 where Fountain Square Wine and Spirits is to be the tenant? Are these metal slatted kind of awnings what you're going to be installing? Can you?
He was going to try to call in. I'm not sure if he made
He
it or
is.
not.
Added him.
Oh, he is. Okay.
I'm sorry, I was on mute.
Okay, all right, so we just like clarification. The awnings that you plan to install along the front of retail 1, where Fountain Square Wine and Spirits is going to be a tenant, are they going to be like the ones shown here in the picture?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, those are called Mapes canopies, and that's what's on order for that space.
oh, okay, how do you spell that?
MAPES.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the brand is Luminaire.
Mhm.
So, excuse me, they'll be the flat ones? They won't? they'll be ones-
Yeah, in front of that space.
Okay,
And the others are going to be, it's a version of a standing seam is what they call the other ones.
Okay, so the ones on the side away from this tenant will be angled, but these will be flat.
Correct.
Okay,
so
Is it
what,
gonna be one continuous?
That's what mine was
one
gonna-
store?
is it going to be the same for the whole facade of the whole?
Yeah,
Bill.
for both inline retail buildings would be the same. The only request came in from the
Or the
physician.
same own?
Yeah, the physicians one urgent care had a request to have this umbrella fabric in lieu of the metal for a softer look on their end. I don't know if that's an issue with the board, but if it is, and the preference
that's
is.
interesting. Let's keep to this, Mr. Gunia.
Okay.
So pictured in this photo are 4 flat kind of awnings. And after that, you have an angled one to the left. Then there was another flat one and angled. So is there some, and to the right, we just see an angled one.
Yeah,
So
they're
it's-
all angled. Yeah, and there's another flat one a little bit further down. So that's, yeah, that'll look just like that.
So these are 4 separate ones separated by the stone columns.
Not one
Correct.
continuous.
Yes.
There's 4.
Oh, I know that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions from the commission?
I think the buildings need to be consistent. That's my personal opinion. If it's a standalone building like Panera, that's different. But I think if you're going to do awnings, they all have to be on each building. They have to be consistent. If they're black, they all need to be black.
Right.
If they're metal, they all need to be metal.
So, Mr. Gunia, this would be the first tenant installation of the awnings?
Yeah, all the awnings are on order for both buildings.
Okay,
They
and
haven't arrived yet, but yes, this is the first one.
okay, but for retail one, this is the style that we should expect going across the whole front of the building, that entire building.
Yes.
Okay. All right, any other questions from the commission?
No.
Okay, is there any one that would like to make a motion on this particular sign application for Fountain Square Wine and Spirits?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we have favorable acceptance to it.
Approve?
Mhm.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Motto has seconded it. So on the motion from Commissioner Kelly to approve, seconded by Commissioner Motto, I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Donato,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto, Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Okay,
We're not voting on the awning plan?
no, we're voting, this
No.
is the sign.
Yeah.
Decide.
This
I
is
know
just
that
for
is,
the
but-
sign to
One
go
we
above.
voted already on one,
Oh,
If-
that's right.
if they're according to that.
Yes.
Okay, the other one is Jersey Mike's, and we had rescinded the approval for that one. So we can go back and discuss that. Is there anyone that have any comments, questions, or concerns about this particular sign application?
I think we were okay with the sign
Fine,
as
which is the awning.
revised. It's a matter of settling awnings.
Mhm.
So.
Mr.
Right,
Gooding,
and,
Jersey Mike's
and the
is-
location.
and the location is, right, thank you, Commissioner Parkins. Mr. Gooding, is Jersey Mike's in retail one, the building in the rear? Or are
Yes,
They're in the big building in the back.
big building in the back. Yeah,
Okay.
well, so, yeah, 795.
All right, now, as other tenants come in, what style are you going to discuss with them? Because this is a style, Jersey Mike's is totally separate and very unlike the picture that we saw for the elevation that we saw for Fountain Square, where we have the flat awnings, the mapes canopies, and the angled ones. And what had been submitted before was that we have single letters on a channel. So does anybody on the commission have any concerns at the Jersey Mike's one?
Can we bring that?
Yeah, you got that one for Jersey Mike's?
What's up? No?
No, not here.
Yeah, that's Jersey Mike's.
We have no-
Are you looking for the, oh,
Well, we approved urgent care with a different style lettering.
that's,
Yeah,
yeah, oh,
So this is the tenant's logo, their national logo. So I don't know how we would be able to tell them they have to use something else, but
I just want to make sure the commission is,
Yeah.
all,
So are they next door to Fountain Square Wine and Spirits?
how close are they to Fountain Square Wine and Spirits?
they are not. They're in the front building. So the
Oh,
Fountain
they're in the
Fountain
building.
Spirits are in the large building in the back, 785. And this is in the front building. They are
Okay,
2 doors down from the urgent care.
all right, so
we can approve urgent care.
we did.
Yes.
All right, so as long as we're on the same page, among the members of the commission. This is in the building in the front where positions one is. Does anybody have any comments, questions, or concerns?
And
Or-
those awnings will be the same as the building in the back, correct?
Yes.
Mhm. Okay, so is there any commissioner that wants to make
I'll
a motion?
Motion that we approve.
Okay, there's a motion to approve from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
A second.
Commissioner Motto has seconded. So on the motion from Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Motto, I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Donato,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion is passed by a vote of 6-0. Thank you, Mr. Gunia.
Thank you.
All right, next is the continuation of a public hearing. And this is the protocol we'll be following for it. Mrs. Castro will indicate if any written comments were received from members of the public no later than 24 hours before the start of this evening's meeting to be read into the record. Commissioner can ask questions during the applicant's comments or at the conclusion of the comments, and the applicant and or associates can answer the commission's questions at the time they're presented or at the conclusion of the comments. After the applicant's presentation has concluded, the chair will recognize those members of the public who have indicated they wish to address the commission. After the last person from the public has been given the opportunity to speak, the applicant's attorney and or associates will be given the opportunity to address any comments or questions from the public. Further information is needed from the applicant. The chair will ask for a motion to continue the public hearing. Public hearing remains open. The commission is not allowed to make any public comment, discuss any part of the applicant's and or his associate's presentation, or receive any additional information from anyone. The commission feels the applicant and or his associates have answered all questions and have addressed all concerns from the commission and or public. The chair will ask for a motion to close the public hearing. The commission can choose to discuss the application immediately following the close of the public hearing or at an upcoming commission meeting. In either case, the commission will be asked by the chair on how it wants to proceed. If there are members of the public who do choose to speak at the point in the public hearing when the chair calls for public comment, public is asked to note the following. The speaker order is as follows. Elected officials of the city of Shelton, those attending in person, those participating via Zoom, and those participating via phone. Speakers will be allowed 5 minutes to present their comments. Those present in the auditorium need to indicate their name and address on the speaker sign-up sheet on the table in front of the room. Those participating via Zoom will need to use Zoom's raise your hand feature, and those participating via phone will need to dial *9 to be identified when asked by the chair. After you are identified by the Zoom host, please state and spell your name and your address to assist the recording secretary and stenographer when the minutes and transcript of the public hearing are being prepared. Please direct your comments and questions to the commission only, not to the applicant and or his associates. Comments from the public should address the specific criteria of the zoning regulations, the merits of the application, and be new information, not a repeat of comments previously presented. Members of the public are expected to practice appropriate etiquette by being quiet, observant, and respectful. Disruptive attendees may be removed from verbally participating. This is the continuation of application 2314 Daybreak Bridge, Dominic Thomas for Daybreak Bridge LLC at 84 River Road, Assessors Map 94, Lot 89, for a planned development district and final site development plan approval on 12.39 acres to expand the approved 36-unit condo development, which were previously applied for under applications number 1906 and 2117, with an additional 28 units for a total of 64 units with on-site parking. Just want to note for the record, I believe at the opening of the public hearing, it was council indicated that the street address for this particular project is 85 River Road. The application was accepted for review on August 9th of this year on the city's website. The beginning of the public hearing on August 30th were the initial and corrected zone change applications, statement of uses and standards, assorted site plans, building elevations, a traffic study, and a letter from 2 residents. Since that time, the following items were posted on the city's website: a revised site plan with the conservation easement, an aerial of the site plan, a memo regarding the PDD eligibility, a pre-blast letter and certificates of mailing, the city engineer's report, and the fire marshal's report. Ms. Castro, were any other reports, materials, or correspondence received within the time period for this application, but not yet posted to the city's website that need to be acknowledged for the record?
No.
No, okay. And Mr. Rossetti, I understand there's one bullet point in the city engineer's report that needs to be removed from the list. Would you please comment on that?
The item, which I'll highlight for everybody, concerning the OSTA review and approval required prior to city final approval, that is incorrect and will be edited out. from this comment. And that's it.
All right, very good. Okay, so is the applicant present? Please identify yourself.
Attorney Dominic Thomas.
Okay, and
att-
Attorney Thomas, would you please start
Attorney
of the new materials that were posted? Go ahead.
Attorney Dominic Thomas, Cohen and Thomas, 315 Main Street, Derby, Connecticut, representing the applicant. I would note for the record that, as you can see from the dates, the fire marshal's report and the city engineer's report were provided to us this afternoon. I do know, and I was going to ask Alexandra if she could admit Manny. I saw that he was still an attendee, Manny Silva. Some of the documents that we have uploaded, there were certain questions raised, which we tried to address with respect to the conservation easement and the overlay that overlays an aerial and shows the adjacent property owners. I'll let Manny review those for you, and also shows the conservation easement area that we proposed. We put up the client provided because there were questions about the blasting and what the procedures were. So what was provided and what I uploaded was the information and the notice, the certificates of mailing and the letter from the blaster from the previous blasting that was involved. What I provided, if I can, and I will screen share if I can, let's see, get to it. What I provided was a short memorandum just to address the concerns that were expressed, excuse me, by Mr. Harbinson and some of the commission members concerning the eligibility of River Road for planned development district. When you look at section 34.1, which, by the way, I did attach to this memo if everybody has seen it, it can be a little confusing and ambiguous as you're reading through it, okay? But, you know, it does say with respect to 34.1A that there is a reference to special development areas, which I'm very familiar with from, you know, doing PDDs 30, 35, 40 years ago, that are approved by the commission along other portions of River Road characterized by established non-residential areas. Well, if you look at the map, and maybe I had trouble reading the zoning map, the latest zoning map online is I think it has a date of 2011. There's appears to be no indication of SDAs that I could find, but I could have missed it clearly. Sometimes it's a hard map to read, but I tried to review it. It does not show any SDAs along River Road or anywhere on the map. However, you know, as I pointed out the last time, 85 River Road is across from a long existing restaurant and a small apartment complex, neither of which is permitted in the R3 zone. Now, if you go to 34.1B, which is an alternate basis, it says that the PDD can be on property abutting and or adjacent to an established non-residential area. And please note, it uses area, not zone, for the purpose of accommodating a proposed use and development that will provide an effective transition in land use and a buffer to the adjacent residential neighborhood. Then it goes on to state such PDD is B limited. I'm sure that it should have said to be, but I'm giving you the exact quote. Such PDD is be limited to uses such as those typically authorized as special exception uses in residential districts as set forth in Use Schedule A. Now, the 85 River Road property is in R3. And as you are aware, since you approved the attached unit condominium or a higher density condominium proposal, you know, it is a use that is permitted. And again, I'm pointing out here that 34.1 uses area as opposed to zone when it says non-residential. It's not talking about you bordering a zone. If it meant to be had a border a zone, then it would have said that. So it says area, which means where there are non-residential uses, which there are across the street. Furthermore, again, it is undisputed that the property is in the R3 zone and one of the uses is a special exception to allow attached condominium unit. So therefore, based on the language of 34.1, and based on the fact that the use that's proposed under the PDD is a use that is authorized as a special exception in the R3 residential district, I believe that 85 River Road is eligible for a planned development district zone. And
Attorney Thomas,
so,
can I ask you a
yes.
question? Was this
Sure.
shared with Corporation Council?
no, I just uploaded it on the zone. I did
Okay.
not. I did. I mean, again, it was an exhibit for the hearing. I wasn't
Okay.
requested to do it. I'd be glad to share it with. I mean,
Yeah, was
I have.
Not
I did
just
review-
tested of the applicant, but also of staff that Attorney
Right.
Teodosi has shown this and have come back with comments.
Right. I did review Attorney Theodosia's report in another matter. Okay. But keeping in mind that that was in the R1 zone.
Mhm.
And, you know, I reviewed it. This, I believe, has a more of a substantiation because the R1 zone has no ability for attached units, whereas, and I'm not commenting on the viability of it because that's totally different where it abuts a high density residential condominium unit. But
Right.
in my situation, I'm focusing on the language about special exception uses in the zone which this exists in, which is the R3 zone. But I would be glad to provide it to Attorney Theodosia.
The question I have is, did you do any research or is there any documentation that would indicate when the property across the street that is not permitted in the R3 zone was grandfathered in or something?
I have no idea. I did not do any research on that. All I know is that
And there are a lot.
I believe, and I'm a little bit of guessing here, that I believe that when I returned to the area from the military in the late 70s, and I do recall I thought in the early 80s, there was a restaurant there of a different ilk.
Yeah, it was a
I
single
think-
family home, I believe, years ago, and then the family moved downstairs and the River Road elevation was turned into the restaurant, Italian restaurant.
Yeah, I don't have, there was Italian at one point, I think.
Yeah, it's through others, so. But
Okay, so that was, my response to the request. Obviously, in response to the request of, what is done when there's blasting, I submitted that, I submitted what was done in the past. And of course, the procedure would have to be followed in accordance with statute and in accordance with your ordinance. In addition to that, there was a request for, based on one of the letters, I think, from the public about open space or conservation easement. So we proposed a conservation easement that you will see. And the commission also wanted to see the layout of this site, but with the surrounding properties and how it blended in. And with that, I will turn it over to Manny to share the two exhibits, the revised site plan and the aerial, and explain to you and respond to any questions. I will note for the record that this afternoon, Mr. Silva actually addressed in very short manner the fire marshals, but I don't even know if really Mr. Silva's had an opportunity to even look at the city engineer report. With that, I'll turn it over to Manny.
Good evening, commissioners. This is Manny Silva from Rose Tizo and Company at 35 Brentwood Avenue in Fairfield, Connecticut, representing the applicant of 85 River Road. As Attorney Dominic Thomas has stated, one of the exhibits that we have done here is the kind of a location map that we were asked to overlay on an aerial photography, so you can kind of see how we have the river here, then you have the restaurant, which is a commercial use, and then you have the approved location or the special exception approved project, and you can see how in this aerial you could already see the foundations going in, and the rock cut that was done for that phase one, and then how that phase two fits in with the phase one in this aerial photo. What seems to be what I find it kind of interesting or important is the adjacency of the buildings that are proposed to the surrounding neighborhood. You have a subdivision down here, and this rear lot is the closest building to our property, and then over here on Grove Street, there's two rear lots here, and this building here is the one closest to our property. And the distance between the proposed units and this building here is approximately 297 feet. And then from this building here to the house on Grove Street is about 550 feet. We do have some neighbors here on the other side of the river, which are closer, but that was they are adjacent to phase one, not phase two. As Attorney Dominic Thomas said, we got some comments today from the town engineer and the fire marshal. Here on SP1, you can see what the fire marshal asked for was a turnaround here on this near basically building K. So he can come up and then turn his apparatus around, similar to what we had here in phase one. Can turn it around and then leave forward. So now the project will have a total of 3 fire access turnarounds. We thought originally that this intersection would suffice, but he would like, due to the length of this driveway being over 200 feet, it's 265 feet to be exact. He asked for a turnaround here and we will comply. We also propose now a conservation easement. You can see it here. Here's the easement line. And then the hatched area is the actual area that we were going to deed as conservation easement. And that area totals 3.96 acres. So just under 4 acres of property will be deeded to conservation easement and will be undeveloped or not be allowed to be developed in the future. I have that easement shown here on the aerial, as you can see here too, so that this easement actually is in a wooded area and on to adjacent properties. I don't know exactly how these properties lay out, but I'm assuming that their lots extend out to somewhere in these and intersect these property line on our property here. The question about how long has the restaurant on River Road been there? I quickly pulled up, just because I'm pretty good at this stuff. I quickly pulled up the field card on that, and it was constructed, paved, and the patio for the restaurant was done in 1965. So the restaurant has been a restaurant since 1965. What that restaurant was, I don't know, but from what I understand, I'm not as seasoned as Mr. Attorney Dominic Thomas, but he says that it was an Italian restaurant. I believe him. So here's that aerial, kind of like in a 3D fashion, and you can see how we have benched this cut back, so it's almost laid back. It's not vertical. Similar here. And this is just a picture of when this was being initially cut. So this cut is also being laid back, similar to this here. So the cuts themselves out here are not as vertical as the plans are showing. We've run into material that has a lot of overburden on it, and so they've been laid back, similar to what we have detailed in our plans to have these things step back and benched. Again, I'll just go to that aerial or that drawing that shows the overlay.
That from the initial project?
Commissioner,
Yeah.
has a question.
Is that from the initial, that photograph is from the initial project?
Yeah.
Correct. So that one's actually probably back in March. So that currently now there's already, this building here is already constructed. This building here is already constructed, and then the foundation's already in for these 3, for this building here. So as of today, there's at least 3 structures on property, and then he's already started, I believe, working on these here along on phase 1. But this is a good representation of how phase 2 kind of fits in with phase 1. It's kind of a complements phase 1. Here it's just going to be an upper tier of units facing that's going to see out onto the river. And then how we do have a substantial buffer of almost 300 feet to the nearest neighbor. And then the next closest neighbor is over 550 feet away. And again, I went quickly through Remis's comments. There's nothing there that we can't address, and we'll be sure to have it as usual addressed in writing with, point by point. But I don't see anything in there that we can address by the next meeting.
Any questions from the commission?
Yeah, I have one. The open space you talk about, I assume that's not usable open space, am I correct?
It is. There's upland area that you could use. For instance, up here, we had one proposal that had this area being developed, but once this easement's in place, it will not be developed. It cannot be developed in the future.
If I may, if once you lay a conservation easement on, if the applicant wishes the conservation easement to be usable for the residents, such as for trails, then that has to be incorporated into the conservation easement. The base shelter conservation easement does not
My
include
question
anything.
is, how would you get there?
Excuse me?
Did you provide access
How
to
would you get there?
that area?
Well, the only people that would, if it's a conservation easement, it's not public open space. It's a conservation easement. So the only people that, if there were trails, and I'm not sure if these are even suitable for that. So in a prior open space that I did, where there was a conservation easement, it was available for the residents of the development. And when I did the conservation easement, I had to include in there that the conservation easement would have trails and would have a walking path through it. And the residents then had the obligation to maintain the walking path through it. In this situation, it's our intention at this point to simply propose a conservation easement to keep the property perpetually in its natural state.
Okay, so it's basically, you're not going to use it.
Okay, I would
Right.
request that the Conservation Commission be asked to give their opinion on the approach for this, and if that is the best way of rectifying that situation.
Well, the only reason I asked that is there's a letter in here asking that a portion of the property as open space for the citizens of Shelton. Really, it isn't.
Yeah,
It's not dedicated open space, but it's not necessarily
Right, exactly.
usable.
I just hope.
Right. Yeah, it wouldn't be usable, and I can imagine the city wanting to assume liability for it. And especially, this is relatively rough terrain. There's a stream that runs through it. I do not believe the city would want it, I mean, as usable, because it's inaccessible. As opposed to, for example, the open space at the end of the proposal for Mr. Grasso off of Long Hill Crossroads, where the open space connected with land trust open space that was accessible at the end of the adjacent street. So there you had the ability to have public access.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else to be shared with us, Attorney Thomas?
No, I do want to point out, and Mr. Silva can correct me if I'm wrong, but a revised site plan that he showed with the fire marshal's requested turnaround, that I will need to upload tomorrow, because I don't think the one I uploaded originally had the turnaround. Am I correct?
You're correct. It
Yeah.
doesn't-
Yeah, no, but I'll have that and any changes, any minor changes that the city engineer requested on the revised plans prior to the next meeting.
Okay, Mr. Silva, can you answer a couple questions on SP1?
Sure.
On the right side where it's indicated location of new retention pond. And
Mhm.
you've got the road coming up from the lower section, curving around that pond and going into the first, passing the first building. What's the change in elevation from where it starts to where you hit the building?
So this profile here, number 4, shows the how that road kind of comes up. Did I not label the grades? But the elevation starts at 164, and then when you get to around the curve, which is right here, you get to 184, so that's 20 feet, but then it flattens out at 5% in front of the buildings. And you can see that here on, also you could see that here. Oops. On SP2. Hold on. Just get to the right sheet.
What kind of safety measures are you proposing for the inside and the outside of the curves in that?
So the outside of the curbs are going to have, we're going to have wood guardrail similar to what we have on the rest of the property. And then as you come up here, you're now in a cut situation. So you're basically, the terrain to your left as you're driving up is going to be higher than you.
Yeah.
So then the guardrail transitions to the other side. So this is it's not that there is this driveway is up in the air by 20 feet. It just rises that much. How much it is in the air is, let's see. So here you're at 160, and then here you're at 150. So it's 10 feet here above grade as you're coming up. And then as you can see here, like I said, you're at 146, and you're coming up 140, 150, and then once you're here, you're at 180, 182, and then it flattens out here to 5%. So
I mean,
what we'll have a guardrail along here, and then that'll transition to the inside right
Show
here.
that, and your cursor's moving fast.
I'm sorry.
Show the guardrail again.
Here, I'll show it. I'll actually draw it in really quick here. So there's going to be a guardrail that comes along. Comes along like this.
Mhm.
And then as you get here, this is level. So you could actually come off of the driveway, and then this is grade right
At
here.
that point, it doesn't slope down at all to the detention pond?
It does. No, on the inside, yes, there's a fence around the detention pond because this actually comes up and then down. So you're actually going to be looking, there's going to be a little berm here.
Uh-huh.
And I just erased it. There's going to be a little berm here. So you come up. So as you're coming up this phase 2, this is going to be a higher. There's a little berm that comes up. There's going to be a fence on top, and then it goes down into the base of the pond. So because you're at 150 here, and then basically the base of the pond is 158. So the pond's higher than the phase 1 area here. But once you come up to here, you're actually level. As you can see here, you're level with the top of the pond. And then you can actually come in here and maintain it, this exit or this plunge pool where the water discharges in.
I
So
was just trying to make sure that if you were to look at the area where Fountain Square is on Bridgeport Avenue,
yeah,
that property that's to the left of Plaza Diner,
Yep.
you've got the slope that goes down to retention pond, and I just didn't know if that was going to be something similar here.
this is actually going to be very similar to the first pond that we have out here. Where as you're coming up, the pond is somewhat higher. So there's almost like a dam or a berm, right? That's right here. And then as you come around it, it's down below you. And that's what's going to be here. And that's really to try not to create a big blast a big hole in the rock. So what we have is half of the pond is slightly cut and then the other half is filled in. So as you come up, the pond berm is going to be higher than you. And then as you get to this point here, it's level with you. And then as you come up to this first building, the pond is below. And then you'll have, there's just fencing around it to stop anybody from getting in there. But what I'll do is,
I didn't want any cause for concern if this application is approved that conditions in winter months may be hazardous for any motorists going up there or down that particular portion of the driveway.
right. So yeah, no, I understand. So again, we'll have a good wood guardrail here because the road is slightly higher than grade here, and it'll come to here where it's level. And in fact, this is like would be a good access point to any open spaces that are out here. And then as far as the guardrail on the other side, as you're coming up past it, it would be on the inside here like this. You're level there, but it would be like this on the inside.
Okay, just go back to what you just said. This would be a good area for access to open space.
Yeah. So there's a good area here that's flat with
There's
natural
no
grade.
Conservation easement.
The conservation
Well,
easement, yeah.
Conservation easements have no access to open space. There's none. There's
Right,
no
right.
access. The public does not have any access, and there's no intent for the developer to create walking paths or anything. This is pure open space. Pure conservation easement, preserved open space.
Correct. But if they wanted to access to this upper area, they'd be able to walk like this. Or there's another section here towards the end that you can come down and then have access to the upper area. And then in phase one, there's an area here just past this building that you can walk right out and access the wooded areas where the wetlands. There's a intermittent stream that runs down here, and then there's another one here and they come together just off the property.
Well, while the topography may help someone to access that by walking, it's just not a part of this particular application because.
Correct. We just want to make sure that we just want to have the neighbors comfortable that there's no intent to develop this any further. And by making this conservation easement, that guarantees that this area will be, this 4 acres will remain wooded and undeveloped.
Okay. Commissioner Kelly has a question?
Mr. Silva.
Yep.
Are you saying that the proposed condos up there, that's all level?
They're not level, but they are, they're going at 5%. Across slope. So they step up. I think it's like every 2 units slightly step up, and 5% grade is basically like when you're at like the not Walmart parking lot, but 5% is like in front of Stop and Shop, the parking lot. That's 5% pitch. So it's not very steep.
But they continue to 5%.
Right. Yeah. As they come up. Yep.
Okay. So if you got to say the last 6, what would be the elevation from start at the bottom before you go to the curb?
So the elevation from the end of the driveway to the garage face, is that what you're asking?
The end of the driveway down to the start of the curve would be the other units that are being existing units at this point.
You're talking about from here down to here?
No, I'm talking about here down to there.
I wish I could see what he was saying. You can see here the elevations between the units.
Oh, okay.
So the garage floor. Go ahead.
Elevation from unit 64
Mm-hmm.
to unit 25.
64 to 25. 64.
the very last unit. 25 is the last one in the lower development area.
25 is here. Okay. Yeah, if you go to SP2, I have the first floor is called out. So the first floor of unit 25 is 143, and the floor elevation of this unit here is at 206.2. So 206 minus 143 is 63 feet from here to here in elevation difference.
Thank you.
That sequence of units from 59 to 64 would be a whole building higher
And the other ones,
overlooking where 25 is.
you would see the top.
Correct.
of it.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
no, you wouldn't. You would see the river. You wouldn't see these buildings down here.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the only units that are going to see phase one is most likely these here in building I, because as you can see here, they're on the top of the cut that was done for phase one, and they'll be able to see these units down here. But for the most part, if you're in these units up here, you're not going to see these units from phase one.
Is there a reason why the two rear buildings were just positioned that way? Their side wall is what's looking out on the river, whereas
The reason for why these two buildings here are perpendicular to the river versus parallel, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
The reason is because the topography lends itself to having the driveway come up and then around, because as you can see in the other. So we're trying to minimize the amount of land disturbance, and to achieve that, we kind of have to follow what nature has given us. And I don't know why it's not rendering the PDF right now. I don't know if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing, but it's not very good. Hold on.
Kind of my-
Yeah, hold on. Of course. I'm just gonna restart the Acrobat here. So why is because the topography as you come up, there's a hill here at the top, and as we come up, we want to get around that knob or that hill that's here, and that's why the units go perpendicular to the river.
you still have a blank screen.
I'm
You
sorry,
have-
I'll rectify that. Hold on a second here. There we go. So I'm pulling this up because I think my Adobe is frozen. Yep, that's for sure. So as you can see, we're going to come up here, and then there's a you can almost see it here. There's like a high point here. There's a knob here on top of the hill, and our development is going to come around here with these units facing the river. But then to get the additional buildings, we're going to put them here perpendicular to this grade that comes down like this. It comes down, and this is the top of the hill. I'll try to move the cursor slower because I'm sure it's blurring. So that's basically the reason. We're trying to follow the contours of the land, which here there's almost like a smile, and then this is the top of it here. So it worked for these two buildings to kind of get the as many units as we could get out of those two buildings facing the river, but these will be facing this way, and then as you can see, they'll kind of be looking north up the river. See right here, they'll be there, and you'll be looking up north, and actually getting the condos over in Derby. But these units here will have a much better view of the river and I guess what's across the river too. But that's basically why. The reasoning was to follow the contours of the land, in which it makes us wrap around this area here like this.
Okay. All right, any commissioners have any questions for the applicant about this?
No,
Attorney Thomas, do you or Mr. Silva have any further details you want to share with us?
No, we, obviously, again, as, Mr. Silva said, that, you know, he can't address all of the issues, but I think we addressed all of the issues from the last hearing. I don't know if there's anything else that the commission would like to, hear about. I think we did. If we missed a question, let me know, but there's nothing else we have to present. This is what we, did. Again, the fire marshals, as you can see from the plan that was submitted, the fire marshal's concerns have been addressed. Mr. Silva said that the remaining issues with respect to the city engineer are easily addressed.
All right, I just want to move into the public portion. So is there anyone that has signed in from the on the sheet? No. Okay. So let me just ask if there's any elected officials in the city of Shelton that are here in the auditorium that would like to comment on the new material that had been submitted since the opening of the public hearing. Please come forward. If there are any elected officials of the city of Shelton who are participating remotely, either via Zoom or by phone, that would like to comment on the new materials and new information, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone. Okay, there is no one indicating remotely. So are there any members of the public in the auditorium that wish to speak? No one has signed up. If there's any members of the public participating remotely that would like to comment on the new material submitted for this application, would you please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone to be identified? Okay. No one from remotely. Okay, so any final further questions from the commission for the applicant? Okay. All right, does can I have a motion to continue the public hearing?
So be it.
Okay, there's a motion to continue the public hearing from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
A second.
Commissioner Romano has seconded. So on the motion from Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Romano to continue the public hearing, do a roll call. Commissioner Parkins?
Commissioner Harger, can I just ask why we are continuing the hearing?
There was information that the applicant has not been able to respond fully to the city engineer's report that just was filed.
Didn't you ask for Attorney Teodoso?
Yes.
Attorney Teodoso, I had asked Attorney Thomas if his memo on whether or not it qualified for a PDD could be referred to Corporation Council
Plus Mr. Pan.
and Mr. Yeah. Okay, so Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
I and Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Donato,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion to continue public hearing has passed by vote of 6-0. So this will be on the agenda of an upcoming meeting, and the public will be able to present comments on any new material that is subsequently submitted by the applicant. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, our final agenda item is approval of the minutes for August 30th. Does anybody have any comments or changes for the August 30th minutes?
I know.
Me neither.
They were online.
They weren't.
Yeah.
Nine, 20. When were they online?
It's not 9/20, it's August 30th.
Yeah, I mean, August
They're there.
30th.
I looked at the list this afternoon.
I uploaded the 20th this morning, but 8:09 was the last.
That's
day.
right, mine too.
8,
Yeah,
The 9th of
pull up the
August,
list. Let's see.
right?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I looked just.
And I
the
kept
other
looking
paper.
for them.
Yeah.
You be canceled with me?
No, yes, we did, but we had it at August 30th.
On August 30th, yeah,
Right.
yes.
So that's the one we're looking at.
No, minutes, home.
August 9th is the list when it's on.
That's exactly right. Yes.
That was a matter, that was approved, the August 9th.
Yeah.
2023.
That was the last one. that was-
All right, the
That's
top-
report.
Here you go, go back. Back. The top one in the list is 09 13/22, so it's September 13th, 2023. The one below it is 08/30/2023. And then it goes into
Are
August
they out
9th.
of order?
No, it's the most recent on top.
When
So
were
the
they at?
13th of September, the 30th of August, which are the ones on the agenda, and the 9th of August, which are the ones on the agenda. If the majority of the commission has not seen these, then we'll just take a motion to
Oh,
table.
yeah, here. Oh, I've got.
No, that's exactly
I'll make a
right.
motion to table the reading of the minutes, the approval of the minutes.
That's exactly what we got.
Refresh.
Yeah, that's funny.
Phone, I.
Yeah.
And I don't have it either. That's the same
Hold it
thing.
open and then
Can't find it.
Alexandra will look at it. All right, so there's a motion to table the August 30th minutes from Commissioner Parkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Kelly. So on the motion to table, Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
All right.
Commissioner Lascos,
Aye.
Commissioner Donato,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Motion table has passed by a vote 6-0. Seeing that there's no other items on the agenda, chair declares this meeting's adjourned as of 7:09 PM.
Good job.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you